Hello and welcome to the kitchen. And as we said, this channel is going to do cooking as well as reviewing of items from supermarkets and whatever else. So since we're going to do some cooking, let us get prepared. Now what we have today, if you haven't guessed from the headline, it's not easy to do this with behind your back. I have bought, in this case, Tesco's mince. This is 20% fat. You can get it as low as 5, and if you bought it at Aldi, you would get it at this price. 500 grams. This was £3.39. So what we're going to do first is we're going to open the pack, and let's see if we can bring you a little closer so you can see. So as you see, we've got the mince. You can try and open it like this. So I'm just going to put the top down on there. So we have the mince. We won't need this anymore. We're going to make 4 meals out of this 500 grams mince. This is equal easily to one person's portion. So just find the middle. If you were doing for 2, then that's 250, and that would be half of £3.30, which is about £1.70 odd. So we half it again. And we are going to use one section for our cooking. I have some bags. Actually, we'll use that bit for the day. And start. So I'm going to have this bit for today. We're going to take the bits that we're not going to use today, put them in a bag. You can freeze them. So you can do this as soon as you've bought the meat. And we'll put the next one in. And as we said, we're going to make 4 separate different meals from this mince. These bags come in a roll of 100. And as I said, you can freeze them. So you would buy the mince, divide it off into your portion size, then you would freeze it until you needed it. So now we have our 125 gram portion. Oh, to make it simple, this actually virtually broke up in half. This is how much meat is in a normal pound meal. That is about 62 grams. When you look at a cheap meal, then you get about 60 grams of meat in it. So you probably have that much meat in most of your pound range items. So I'm going to use half a tin of peas. I would normally use frozen peas because that would be a much cheaper price, because 900 grams of frozen peas are 89 pence, so 100 grams would be 10 pence. So these are rather expensive, but I don't have a freezer, so I can't do that. I am using 1 carrot. I've weighed this on my very large scales. Please note, these are huge scales. If you can see that, yeah. Very large scales indeed. So this carrot is 90 grams and it costs 8 pence. We have 1 onion. This is 135 gram onion. That was 10 pence. We have in this portion of potato. This is 250 grams and has a value of 15 pence. So let's bring you up and let's see. The potatoes being 15 pence. This is based on a 2.5 kilogram bag of potatoes costing £1.49. This is the current price of what they are in Aldi. So if you can get a 2.5 kilogram bag cheaper anywhere else, this price will come down. As we said, normally I wouldn't use a tin of peas, but I have no freezer, so I can't freeze it, and I don't really get through that many peas to start with. So we're going to use half a tin of this. This is actually by weight 250 grams of peas. So that's going to be a very generous amount. You're lucky if you get maybe 20 grams in meals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare all of this. So we are just going to peel. I need to rub my knife over, so just wash my knife. That was quick, wasn't it? So we're just going to take off the two ends of the carrot. Now I do have a potato peeler and one potato peeler, as by magic. So we're just going to run the potato peeler down the carrot. If the carrots are new and you want to keep the skins on them, you can do. If they look nice, then just wash the carrot. Carrot is another thing that if you want to buy, is much better to buy fresh. Then just chop it into whatever shape you want, because there is a number of shapes that you can do from carrot, and then just put it in the freezer as a whole, as a bag of carrots. So we've peeled the carrot. We do the same with the onion. We need to remove the outer skin. And we may also need to remove the second skin that you come to. Then you see we have loose. This is very dry. You don't want that. You want to get to a skin which is shining and soft. So you would do away with any skin which doesn't look that appetizing until you get down to something which is soft and juicy rather than dried out. Now we're just going to remove that little bit of skin there. Okay, so now we have our onion. We're going to chop it. As we're going to do, we're going to chop the carrot. For the potatoes, these are actually new potatoes. I would just wash them. So let's give them a wash and see what they turn out like. So I've washed the potatoes. Some of them don't look too bad. So if you can use a nail brush and brush them, but you just need something abrasive to rub against them. I don't like that little bit, so we'll just cut that little bit off. Now the rest of it looks fine. You don't need to, if you've got a new potato, to take the skin off. You can just cut it. So that's what I'm going to do, because they don't look too bad. There's no blemishes and discoloration. They've been washed, so there's no soil on them. It's the color of the skin of the potato. So our last thing is to open the tin of peas. So the tin of peas, tin opener. So I'm going to use the rest of the peas, after I've used half in this, in a different dish when we come to do it. So I will just put them into a container with a lid. Of course, we need to drain off the water, which we can do as you hear, because peas and tins always come in water. You could put the water into the pan and gain any vitamins that might be in the water, but probably isn't going to be many anyway. So we have the peas. So all I just need to do now is cut the potatoes, which doesn't take much, so we'll let you come back down and have a look at the cutting. So sorry about this, but I don't have piles of room to fit camera things in. So as you see, they're nice. And now remember, the smaller you cut something, the less time it takes to cook. But we still want to be able to find these, so I am not going to cut them too small. As you see, even that is probably going to be a decent portion. Now, if you're wondering, I costed this out to £1.47. So yes, this is more expensive than your pound meal, but the weight wise is 725 grams. Now, to bring it back to the pound, I would say drop down to 150 grams of potatoes. You really want to keep the onion. So this onion has a bit of discoloration on inside, so I will just cut that out. That's okay now. Right, so we'll just, I don't want to cut it too small, but this is quite a soft onion to start with. And once again, I want to be able to find the onion when I'm eating it, so I won't dice it really tiny, which you can do. I should take it, this takes up quite some time, but I don't really want to not show you the whole doing, because then you can see how long it does take to cook. So that's that bit. We still have a bit of that's about right. So we have cut up the potato, the onion, the carrot, the mince is ready, the peas is out. Now what are we going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is that we have this, we're going to put just over a centimetre or so water in the bottom, because that will be sufficient to cook it. And we're going to put the potatoes in. And the carrots. Now by eye, I am just going to pour off some of the peas. Right, that's about it. Probably it's a little less, but never mind. We have that now in there. Now this I'm going to put just into its cooker, because I'm going to actually brown off the mince in the frying pan. Right, we have the frying pan. Need that bit. This is a halogen thing, so it will heat up this fairly quickly. We'll just wait for it to just heat it up a little more. You have a little bit of sizzle. Now we want to break the mince up. it's not in one big clump. I'm just using a plastic fish turner. That is some pepper, and this is some sea salt over here. That is the salt and pepper in. As you see, this does heat up really quickly, so we're turning it. Give it another go to break up a bit more. Okay, we have some fat now being introduced. So we're going to brown the onions or soften them a bit more. So hopefully you can see that. All we are doing is giving them into a little bit of colour, loosening it up so we're not in big clumps. The onion is now absorbing some of the oil out of the... That's a little bit dry, take that bit out. So as you see, we are just slightly cooking it. It will be cooked in the pressure cooker, so it doesn't need a lot. It just needs to be separated, so it's a little bit more. It'll pick up and it's lost some of its oil into the onion, which is all good. There's not really that much oil or fat coming out of it. So as I said, I made the list. Now we're going to cook that for about 10 minutes in the pressure cooker. That's the timing we're going to put. The pressure cooker will be on, building up the pressure until it hits that. Then it will cook for 10 minutes. When that's done, it will be finished. Now, if we drain off a little bit of the water that is in the pan, then we can mix in some gravy powder. We don't need it really thick unless you like it that way, but maybe a tablespoon of gravy powder will give it just enough colouring to go in with it. Now, as I said, the whole of this meal is £1.47, which is 725 grams. It is well over the 500 that even the biggest meal can be. So what can we minus off if you want to get it back down to the pound? The biggest thing comes is that in all hindsight and ability, that most of your meals that you get for a pound only have 60 grams of meat or thereabouts. If we drop to 60 grams, if we drop down to the 65 grams or half of it, you'll drop down to 42 pence worth of meat instead of 85. You will knock off the whole 40 odd and come in at the pound. Even dropping then taking off 50 grams of potato and having a little less, you're definitely then touching the pound mark. So that would just take away 50, 110 grams. You've got a 615 gram meal, even dropping down to that. It's better to have a bit of variety. I don't really want to take away peas, carrots or onion because they're fairly cheap, and frankly so is potato. So we're going to let this finish cooking. As soon as the fans goes off, I'll put it in the thing, and then I will show you a bowl of it when I am done, and you can see for yourself. But we only have 5 items plus a bit of gravy. That's all that is in this meal, and this is frankly probably more than what's in the meal that you would get. You will be lucky if you get 5 grams of peas, which is just 10 10 peas if you're lucky in a meal. A tiny bit of carrot that it's very hard to find, and an even smaller amount of onion, or even they might use onion granules. This is a proper filling meal, well over 500 grams. And if you just drop down to 200 grams of potatoes, so you would have 90 grams of carrot, 135 grams of onion, 200 grams of potato, 125 grams of peas. It's given the colour with the red and the thing, and the 62 grams of meat. You're coming in over 500 grams still, and you're coming in at a pound. So I need to use the mince as a quarter of what it is, because 125 grams is technically the level which Gusto and HelloFresh use as their level of meat that a person can have in a thing. Not how much a pound meal has in, but how much they say. So we'll just wait for that to stop, put it in the pan, turn it on, let it go for 10 minutes, and we'll be back then and you can have a look. And what we've done is we've poured off half a cup of the water, the juice from, and I've technically removed the rest. I am taking 1 tablespoon of gravy, sprinkle it in, reseal my pot, and with a fork we are just giving it a bit of colour. We're not expecting it to thicken up that much, but we can give it a hand if you want it to thicken up a little bit. And to do that, just put it in the microwave. Let's see, we have the rest of it already in the pan. It still has a tiny bit of the juice still in, but I did get rid of quite a bit of it because I don't want it all liquidy. We just wanted enough water so it didn't run out of water while it was cooking, and that it wouldn't burn in the pan. So we didn't need all the water. We could just give it a stir and mix, make sure all the veg is now mixed in. And now the gravy is a tiny bit thicker, not too much, because I didn't use a lot of gravy granules. I don't want it to be thick. Now, of course, you can thicken it up with a teaspoon of corn flour instead of adding the more expensive gravy in it. So we'll just pour that back in. So when we spoon it out onto the dish, we're going to have it all mixed in. Plus the gravy's now fairly warm. So we're going to put some of it out into the plate. And of course this is going to make a pretty filling meal, since we are going to get more than what we would normally get So we still have quite a bit in there, at least another go. So I'm not going to tilt the bowl because it has the gravy in it. So I'm going to tilt the camera and you can have a look. So as you see, we have colour. We can see the carrot, we can see the peas, and we can see the potato in a small amount of gravy. So that will be a lot more filling. Now, as we said, that whole one, because I use so much mince, is 147. If you want to get to £1, you remove the peas completely, you add the money for the peas into the meat, and you will get 101 grams of mince, which is technically a fifth of the pack. So you just divide everything, the pack, into 5, and then you have that, and you come in at the pound with everything else as it is. So can we get a more filling meal? Yes, we can, because even doing that, we are over 500 grams in weight, which is better than the 400 you can have. The meal is more colourful and didn't really take all that long after I prepared and did the thing. If you prepare everything in advance and just freeze it, then you can just take it out the freezer, put it into the pan, and you will be done much faster. But I did it from fresh, so it took a little longer. So with that, I hope you give this a go. I hope you come back and see another one of my videos, or check in the listing and see if there's any others which catch your eyes, and please subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.